This is all. Okay, so what do you want me to do with mics?
Well, everybody, welcome to Wesley Reunion. I think that I've already talked to most of you, but one of the things that we wanted to do midday is to give you a little bit of insight into what Wesley is like now. And so we created a very diverse panel filled with white guys. Okay, also have you many interested.
Quick question.
It's one of those things where summer Wesley looks a lot different than the rest of the year, but that's okay. Thank you guys for being here. John, as you've already met him through check-in and stuff, he's our executive pastor, and he makes so many of these things work day in and day out, and you can thank him for the not just the name tags, but if you have kids, you have a retaining slip or whatever for them that has we have given your child a barcode and a serial number, and
actually no, we don't have barcodes.
Processing them. I don't know what it is, but somehow it keeps them safe.
Well.
So it's not. So today, for this panel, we've got a number of questions that we're going to be asking. Some questions are going to be asked of me, and then other questions we'll be asking to this selection of students. So I'm going to turn it over to John, actually.
Yeah, so to get started, we're going to start with letting Wade share a little bit. So first of all, Wade, can you tell us a little bit about the overall vision of Wesley?
Yeah, the overall vision of Wesley remains the same that it's always been, which is to reach students on campus. Now, a lot of times we talk about Wesley Foundations as being the United Methodist presence on campus and the organization for United Methodist students, but ultimately, the United Methodist presence on campus, we have the same mission as the United Methodist Church, just adapted for the university setting, and that is to make disciples of all people, to bring them to a life-giving, transformative relationship with Jesus Christ, and that is what we do day in and day out. So.
Cool. Now, I know that for most of the people here, it's maybe been a couple years since they've been here, and Wesley's changed a little bit since then. So how is that overall vision, how has that evolved over the past few years?
Sure. I hesitated to kind of include this in our panel discussion, but so many of you have asked me this question that I feel the need to kind of talk a little bit about it. In 2011, I was appointed to come here to Tuscaloosa to start a new church. And so I was not originally sent to Tuscaloosa to even have anything to do with the Wesley Foundation. Well, the thing is, when I started the new church, I'd say 85% of those that were coming to the church were college students, which is wonderful if you're not starting a new church. So,
Amen.
So one of the problems that we were running into is, God seems to be working through us to reach college students. What is the deal? So 2014 comes along, and I'm having a meeting with my district superintendent, and I said, listen, Roger, the problem is, we have so many college students that we need to do something for them. So I'm thinking of starting a college ministry. And it just so happened that he and the conference were looking to make a change over here. There was a need to make a change in director positions. And so they said, why don't you serve as the interim over at Wesley? And I said, fair enough. If that's how you think I can best serve, great. And so I worked with the church plant, which was still kind of hanging out in town, and then college students over here. And that whole first year, I was getting my feet wet, not really knowing anything about campus ministry and the long legacy of the Wesley Foundation here at the University of Alabama. And then in 2015, I was officially appointed as the, not interim, but actual director, not just of the University of Alabama Wesley Foundation, but for campus ministries across North Alabama as well. And so then I also kept on that church planting hat, which has continued to evolve. So I say all of this because the mission of the Wesley has remained the same, but the way that it's kind of implemented today in 2017 versus 2014, 2011, and 1933 when it was started, right? Isn't that right? It's the 84th anniversary of University of Alabama Wesley this year, so that's kind of what we're talking about a little bit more. The big thing is that the University of Alabama has expanded extraordinarily, and so our reach goes far beyond just United Methodist students that want to have a group for themselves. And instead, we have Southern Baptists, we have Catholics, we have Presbyterians, we have people that have no church affiliation or religious background. And what that causes us to do more and more is to seek to be an open place for all students, an open place for all students, regardless of who they are. And even though we are a United Methodist, Jesus-centered organization, we accept a diversity of beliefs and opinions to be welcome here. We don't say, oh, profess Jesus or you don't get a meal on Thursday nights. We're not going to do that. But instead, we try to be a place that is beneficial, encouraging to all students as they become who God has called them to be.
Cool. So it's interesting that you talk about the fact that you started out with a local church, and Wade and I actually know each other because I was on staff at the local church. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how local churches, which has always been really part of how Wesley reaches the campus. Can you talk a little bit about the part that they play in that vision?
It's so important. The Wesley Foundations at a campus, on campus, are kind of like United Methodist embassies for the university. That's the way that I like to think of it. We are the United Methodist presence to reach students on campus. So if you think about political or governmental embassies, that is a foot in the door of places where you don't necessarily always exist, right? And so we invite local church interaction. There are 5 core ministry areas that exist at Wesley, and I didn't make these up. They've really come from Acts chapter 2 all the way to modern day. Most churches have these to some degree. Our ministry areas are worship, fellowship, discipleship, what we call discovery. You may know it in the secular world as career vocational discernment or whatever. And then finally, we have outreach, which includes missions and evangelism. Local churches, we invite to help us out in one or more of these 5 ministry areas. So we have some churches that help with fellowship opportunities. What does that mean? Our Monday lunch, our weekly Monday lunch is provided and catered by area churches. Thursday night dinner is provided by our local church that meets here at Wesley. The church plant that I transitioned over from. Then we have opportunities for discipleship. We use local churches and send students to have discipleship opportunities from St. Mark to First Methodist, Trinity, all the area churches as well. So what we ask is for local churches to find a way in these 5 areas that they can contribute to the already happening ministry at Wesley. That way, we give them students and they help us have a bigger, broader scope.
Great. So transitioning a little bit from local churches, obviously we've got a bunch of alumni here. So what can alumni do to be a part of this overall vision in these ministry areas?
I didn't realize the value that alumni had when I first came here in 2011, and certainly not in 2014 as well. But I have students, juniors and seniors, that are about to launch into their careers for the first time. And I am a humanities guy, meaning that I read a lot and I wrote a lot, and I had nothing to do with numbers. Many of our juniors and seniors are going to be engineers. They're going to be going into accounting and banking, and you name the career path that some of these students are going into, and they're looking for advice, for guidance, for connections, and for maybe a little bit of a perspective. And so one of the things that we're wanting to do is help alumni connect with current students so that there can be a little bit of mentoring going on, or just to say, hey, this is what my job is actually like. The other things that alumni can do to connect with Wesley is to make sure that your local church knows about us. That may be you promoting Wesley, not just at Bama, but at any campus. But it also may mean you talk with your pastor and say, let's get Wade to come and speak at our church or something. I travel all over North Alabama and just talk to youth groups. Some of the people that we have on staff now, I met them when they were juniors and seniors in high school because their youth pastor or senior pastor invited me to speak at their church. Other ways that you can connect with us is really just through staying involved. Some of you may feel a desire to serve on the board that we have. We have a great a board of directors for Wesley that kind of helps make things happen in roles like staff parish relations, kind of working with the hiring process, things like finance, and then also things like trustees. So you look around the building and stuff, and whether it's painting or whether it's fixing things that are in disrepair, kind of our trustees have those sorts of discussions. One thing that I would also say that alumni do frequently is we are looking to bring in more giving and stuff. And so part of the whole giving aspect for alumni is we don't want it to seem like some kind of tithe. Sorry, we had people walking in, so thank you, Ken, for going to speak with them. One of the things that we're looking for the future is this alumni development program where it's not just like, oh, well, I've got to give to this thing that I used to be a part of. We want Wesley to be a part of your present, not just your past. And we're going to talk about some ways to do that at the end of our panel today. But through participation, through mentoring, through board presence, and then through giving, those are the ways that alumni can be a part.
Great. And as we transition into hearing from some of our students up here, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more, you touched on this earlier, about what kind of our 5 core mission areas are.
Worship, fellowship, discipleship, call discovery, and finally outreach. Those 5 core areas, I believe, not just hit the things that we do programming-wise at Wesley, but they hit the core of what it means to be a faithful follower of Jesus Christ. Our goal is that when somebody graduates from Wesley, graduates from the University of Alabama, that's our grand scope, that they have a concept of what it means to be a faithful follower of Jesus Christ, active and engaged in worship. They have a lifelong community of friendships, and maybe even relationships, marriages. So many of our people seem to meet here. Some of you have met, and that begins with fellowship, right? And then discipleship. What does it mean to faithfully follow Jesus, to study the scriptures, to be a person of prayer? And then, are you living out your life calling with call discovery? And then finally, outreach. How do you share the love and the faith that you have in Jesus with the world in real, relevant ways?
Excellent. So thank you, Wade, for sharing a lot of that. We now want to hear a little bit from our students because, that's they can speak a little bit more to what we do here and kind of the impact that Wesley has than either Wade or I can. So let's just real quick, we've got a panel of students up here. If y'all want to just go down the line, give us your name and maybe your hometown, where you're from, and your major. So, Grayson?
It's like I've probably never answered these questions at all since I've been in college. It seems like this is the ultimate icebreaker. Hi, my name's Grayson Wright. I'm from Hueytown, Alabama, which is about an hour back towards Birmingham. And I'm also majoring in operations management. So, hello.
I'm John Austin. I am a upcoming junior here. I'm double majoring in public health and biology, and I am from here in town.
Hi, I'm Luke Bondi. I am currently I'm going to be a senior, and I'm double majoring in management and economics. I am from just outside of Chicago.
All right. Hey guys, I'm Sam Griffin. I'm from Vestavia Hills, Alabama, and I'm currently a master's student in electrical engineering.
Great, thanks guys. Literally guys. So I wonder if y'all can talk to us a little bit about how did you end up at Wesley? What brought you here initially?
I'll do this one because it's kind of a weird story. So, as Wade kind of touched upon, I am the resident Catholic here at the Wesley Foundation, and so it's always kind of funny when I've become really involved with the Methodist Church in that regards by still going to Mass on Sundays. So it's kind of funny how that works out. So when I first came here, my sister went to Ole Miss, and she went to the Wesley Foundation because there wasn't a Catholic thing at Ole Miss. So she went to Wesley, fell in love with it, and her and I are very close and very similar. So when I came to Alabama my freshman year, I saw the Wesley booth at our Get On Board Day, and I went, I know that name, I'll go there too. And then it was the people that kept me around. So I stayed around because I liked the people. They were very nice to me and welcoming, and I felt like I could stay here for a little bit and chat and see what was going on. And then I'd be sitting here in those chairs right there listening to Wade do his sermons, and he'd always be saying things like, well, we've all heard this story, and me being the good little Catholic boy, I've never heard any of these stories before. So I was like, okay, so there's a lot more of this whole Bible thing that I really didn't know about. So I started looking more into it and studying and talking to people. And this past year, I started doing a Bible study with, now he's one of my really good friends. He's one of my closest friends here. I can tell him anything. And we started out being complete opposite people in beliefs, in communication styles, and really anything. We're not supposed to be friends kind of guys. But every week we met in the morning, did a Bible study, read through a lot of the books in the Bible, talked, shared our life stories, and chatted. Like, we had to put restraints on how long we could hang out with each other because we would go on forever. And if we had an hour in the morning, we'd talk for 45 minutes just about our lives, and then be like, oh, we should probably get to the whole Bible thing, which is why we started meeting up in the first place. So is that whole sort of growth that's kept me here, why I'm involved? Again, and Wade touched upon the mission areas, and I was involved in the outreach team last year. But being on the outreach team, I was the missions coordinator, so I did a lot of the missions and outreach and that sort of stuff to the campus and evangelism, that sort of things as well. But it's not just, it's beyond that, because by being on outreach, I've met other people, so I was fellowshipping, and then also I was talking to someone about the Bible, so I was discipling them as well, and then at the same time grooming people to take over our leadership positions on the outreach team, so we were showing people, helping people discover their call. So all of these ministry areas are so interconnected, which is a great way that Wesley's helped me just grow in my faith and as just a really personal development leadership kind of style as well.
One of the interesting things about Luke that I don't think you understand, there's no way you can understand how different he and this other guy were. Luke, probably comes from a bit more of a progressive Catholic background. This other guy, pretty hardcore conservative, Methodist Bible Belt culture. And they met together to talk about various views of Scripture. And that is one of the best stories that I can talk about as far as what it means to be an open place for all people here, and to have unity and difference, but unity and love. And I think it sets a great precedent for the United Methodist Church in general. But I love that. So,
and I'm going to jump back in too. And another great thing about that is going forward this semester, him and I are leading a Bible study together with some other of the people here, the upperclassmen, which again is a chain of events I never would have foreseen. Awesome. I met up with him the first time because he posted something on Facebook that I was like, all right, let's talk about this. So we got some lunch, and we really started kind of hashing out our ideas, and then we're like, hey, maybe there's something here. Let's see what we can keep talking about. So it's really kind of great to take that chance and have a place where not only is that accepted, but encouraged and expected in a way. Yeah. So that is helping us grow, and then hopefully we can help other people have the same sort of dialogue and discussion going forward, and then that chain of events and ripple effect going out.
For sure. Sam, what about you? What brought you to Wesley?
So going back to telling your home churches about Wesley, I had started going to this one church a month before I started college, and I found Jeffrey Higginbotham there, and he told me about Wesley Foundation there, and so I was just like, okay, that was now in my head. So I come to college, and I went to a few events, but just waiting for things to stick. But then I had another good friend, Matt Whitlock, who called me back and really pulled me back in. So it's those personal relationships that people reached out to me, and so I stayed around.
Yeah, those personal connections, I think hit everybody. John Austin, you're nodding. What brought you to Wesley?
So I grew up pretty hardcore Methodist. Father was a lay pastor. Grandfather was a pastor. Father went here. He was a Wesley alum. And so I decided first day I was going to try it, and it wasn't for me for the first semester. I kind of had a hard first semester. I decided I wanted to kind of goof off a little bit, and GPA suffered for that. So dealt with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and a lot of kind of losing my way. And I decided, because of the small group that I had formed initially here at Wesley, they kind of convinced me to give it a second try, the second semester of my freshman year. I'm now entering my second year as an intern for Call Discovery, which I think is ironic because I've changed my major 8 times. So I am the best person to get advice from in that area.
You know all the majors.
It's been one of the best decisions I've probably made, and I'm so thankful for my screw-up my first semester. Weird as that sounds, but it has been so helpful in my personal growth and my development. It's given me an idea, do I want to go into ministry myself? Do I want to pursue that as well as like a career in academia? I never would have thought of the friendships I would make. I'm living with my third best friend that I made with Wesley for my third year in a row as a roommate. So that's just crazy to me, where I was struggling to find people my freshman year to room with and just be friends with. So this place has really changed me and has really kept me in here at a time I needed it most.
What about you, Grayson?
Oh, well, actually, mine are not great and wonderful, and like all of these others are. I actually was approached by Jesse Davis, who was the worship leader going into my freshman year at a United Methodist Battle of the Bands. Our conference had one for all the youth bands that were coming in, and they said, "Hey, we need a bass player. You play bass. You're like the only person on campus that I've met that likes to play bass." So he said, "Why don't you come down?" And I thought, "Yeah, sure, great." And I talked about it, and then didn't hear anything back about it. About 4 months later, I got into an email group with him, and when we got talking about when the first practice was going to be and all that, and I come up, it's a week before school maybe or something like that, and it's kind of like for all the staff to get together and have a meet and greet along with the band at that point with how we were structured. And I walked in and I felt super nervous because I was running 15 minutes late, and I was so worried, new kid on the block. And when I walked in, I mean, everybody was just super relaxed and super welcoming, and they kind of calmed me down a little bit and said, "Hey, we're glad you're here. We're super glad." And they helped me with band practice was after that, and they were super helpful with getting me set up and allowing me to do things with that. And the first person I actually talked to when I came here, it was along the lines of one of the best friend deals. His name was Parker Irwin. He was the first guy I'd ever talked to, and apparently he was super introverted and didn't usually talk to anybody, but he just felt like he needed to talk to me for some reason. And next thing I know, we moved in together my sophomore year, and we were roommates up until this year when he graduated. So I came here, and the thing that really stuck out to me was, again, the friendships and the connections that we made, and it made a lifelong best friend for me out of that too. So.
Grayson is actually our worship intern for next year as well, so he's on staff with us.
Cool. So love hearing those stories. Sounds like there's that common theme, certainly, of developing those friendships and those relationships. And some of y'all have kind of touched on this, but I'm wondering what keeps you at Wesley? Why'd you come back here, second or third time? And no, you can't answer because you get a paycheck if you're one of our interns.
You can believe that, you just don't need to say it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, come up with a better answer.
I'll go ahead. I firmly believe, definitely the paycheck, by the way, but I firmly believe that we offer the best, well-rounded development. There are other churches that do have better worship opportunities, and there are better churches that do allow their students to outreach better. But ours, I firmly believe, offers one of the best discipleship experiences and definitely the best overall well-rounded chance for personal growth. If I wanted to go, I guess, get anything close, I would probably have to go to 2 or 3 different churches at one time to get the same experience I could get here. So, also, we talk about the friendships formed here. Wesley, it's different than other ministries, I think, because there's an expectation for our members to commit and meet and greet and just try to befriend and love other people from the get-go. It's not some little social mixture where you walk in and by the end of the night, it's almost from the second you walk in the door.
Yeah.
It's not just our interns and our staff workers. It is every single member here who tries to find a new friend when they walk through the door. Yeah.
So I totally missed out that I've made friends here. I didn't say that during my opening spiel, but yeah, I made a lot of friends here. Some of my best friends are absolutely from this building that I met. So I'll throw my name in the hat for that one too as well.
You have friends. That's what
I
we're
do have
hearing.
some
No,
friends.
you don't have to defend it.
All right, that was awkward. But no, coming back, honestly, meeting people, seeing them every week before you get someone's phone number, I can wonder if they'll be there. We can chat with them again. And then also, as soon as I got into routine, coming here more established, this has become a place where that leadership development really has kicked in as well. Because again, I've already talked about my spiritual growth and that as well, and how important that is. But being on leadership, especially this past year with Wade and the other coordinators and interns and that sort of stuff on leadership, it is so incredible the way that it's structured here, because Wade has really just, he gets paid to do nothing. What he does is he gives us the framework to grow and develop this campus ministry in a way that we see fit as students to lead other students, which is the most empowering thing that he can possibly do to us, which is the best way that he can run this campus ministry. Because what he does is he gives us the opportunities to try things and either have them succeed or fail. And you learn so much more from failing over and over again than you do from succeeding, because then you know what not to do and how to do it better the next time. And then if you fail, you can tell the other person who comes after you how not to fail. And that strengthens them. And they can try in other ways to try and succeed or sometimes fail as well. And these sort of trial and errors just builds the system up as high as it goes. So the way that we can grow this ministry from the ground up and just explore our own strengths and try other things is honestly one of the best things about this campus ministry, is just being able to lead and bring this organization in a direction that follows the teachings of Christ in a way that reflects our values as well, and our goals and missions and mindsets and what we want to achieve. So that is one of the best things that keeps me coming back, is just the way that the organization grows and has been really ingrained in us how this organization is supposed to grow.
I love that you mentioned that, because that really is kind of my heart, not to get paid for doing nothing, but the part where we're trying to help students fail faithfully and fail forward. Because, I mean, many of you know as well as I do that failure is a part of life. You're going to try some things, they're not going to work out. What do you do at that point? And what we're trying to develop, in addition to a faith in Jesus, which I think really goes along with a faith in Jesus, is a sense of grit. A sense of grit that you're not going to give up, that you're going to keep pushing, you're going to find a way to live and to thrive. It gets hard for our freshmen and sophomores sometimes, because they've never failed before. It's like, welcome to Wesley, welcome to college, and what are you going to do? What was that? Okay, fair. But yeah, thank you for saying that, Luke. That's good.
And something else that Luke mentioned that I'd really like to draw out, one of the things we've really been leaning into, especially over the past years, we've started to bring on some of these interns and coordinators, is the belief that college students are able to connect with college students a whole lot better than we are as kind of the executive staff. And so, Luke, thanks for bringing that out, because that's one of the things that we're really trying to lean into, is letting the students feel empowered to really kind of lead the programming, to lead the charge on bringing other college students in, because they know what college students like and are into, and can do that a whole lot more effectively.
To that same point, as far as our leadership structures are currently run at Wesley, so you have the executive staff, which currently is composed of me and John, and we just lost one of our associate directors, and hoping to hire a new associate director, a female, in the next year, so that we have some diversity.
Lost as in his tenure was up. He didn't die or anything like that.
He was still alive on the planet. In any case, so we have the executive staff, and then we have our student interns. We have an intern for each of those 5 ministry areas, and then we also have an intern for communications as well. Now, we also have some students that work with tailgating, which is a whole other world of its own. So parking and working with all the people that tailgate. Then with those interns, we have a group of other student staff members who are coordinators. They kind of, if interns are into developing program areas for ministry and developing the people for that, coordinators are the ones that kind of get some things done. And we realize that some positions and some work requires more than others, so we brought some on staff. Each one of these ministry areas has a team of students, volunteers, who operate. So we have a worship team. Worship can be members of the band, or it can be members of our aesthetics team. Right now, it's kind of plain back here, but when we do a worship series, there's a whole backdrop, and there's all kinds of things that are going on in here that convey what's going on in that series. The same with fellowship. We have large group mixers and small group fellowship opportunities, discipleship, everything from small groups to what we call upper level Phoenix groups, which are classic Wesleyan discipleship groups. I can talk to you more about that if you want later. And then, basically each group has a group of students. So ultimately, our leadership team ranges from about 35 to 50 students, usually 50 more toward the beginning of the year and dwindles down to about 35 by the end of the year. But nonetheless, we have a large group of students that participate in leadership.
You have to try really hard not to get involved here.
Oh my
at
gosh.
Wesley.
True.
Cool. So, going to continue on for you guys, especially for those of you who aren't interns. What ministry area do you really feel most drawn to, and how do you kind of live into that here at Wesley? And again, for that, we're talking about our 5 ministry areas of worship, fellowship, discipleship, call discovery, and outreach.
Well, I particularly do more with fellowship, so I like to talk to a wide variety of people and just try to just make connections, because these are my people. These are who I share my life with, and I just need to make sure that they're doing well, and so we can support each other. So throughout this entire experience of life. So
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, and like with me, I've just been involved with a lot of different things on campus. I'm really involved with Relay for Life, for example. So when I started doing that on campus, I went, hey, I have this great student organization that could have a team on campus as well, so we can all be together. And so I brought the Relay for Life into Wesley. The Wesley and the Relay for Life are both of them together, I suppose. So that was just kind of basically drawing out the volunteer things I do and combining it with the people and the opportunities here to grow both programs at once, really was kind of what drew me to outreach.
Great. And final question for you four. If there is one thing that you would like to share about Wesley that you would hope that everyone who maybe isn't involved in the kind of day-to-day here, if there's one thing that you'd hope that they would know about Wesley, what would that be?
Oh, mainly that we're here to make connections and just help people, because the way that I've been helped by this organization, I need to share that with others. So that it's very important and core to our cause here.
Just the thing that I think that I would want to speak a lot to is just it's kind of twofold, but it's both the just sense of home that you find here. Wesley has definitely become a very big home, very much my home. I mean, I've moved my letter to be part of Wade's church, and I'm very, very committed to being here. But also just speaking to that, just the internal drive that I see from a lot of students that come here, and when they do get involved, just there's such a passion for wanting to make other people followers of Jesus, and just to show this great, wonderful gift that we have that God gives us, and we experience while we're here in Wesley, and it gets implemented in all parts of our lives. That's just such a powerful thing that I see here. I've seen people who I never would have thought be in some ministry areas that are phenomenal in them, and I've seen just such wonderful growth, and I've had the chance to see how Wesley impacts people's lives, and it's still doing God's work. It's doing God's work here, and it's such an amazing part of my life personally. I know several other people that I'm super close to as well.
That's Grayson.
Mic drop.
Well, I think one of the things that I want people to take away from Wesley who aren't necessarily involved in is that we go beyond our Tuesday night service.
Yeah.
It's not just a worship thing, because again, go back to the whole Catholic thing, contemporary worship isn't my style. It's just, I like structure. We have the same thing every week. It's pretty great. But it's not just that. There's plenty of other opportunities. Like, we have something literally every day of the week. In this building, whether it's free food or worship or small groups or Bible groups or game nights or socials or this, that, and the other thing. So there's so much more that the people here and the institution has to offer than just the stereotypical Tuesday night kind of get together college worship sort of thing. There's so much more than that, and it's not just a worship building. There is that, and that's a huge part of it, but there's more.
There's community here too.
There's community here. There we go. There's your soundbite.
For me, it's the Holy Spirit is infectious here. is that's the only
Oh,
way
yeah.
I know how to describe it. You step in these doors and you go through the interactions, as we've said. You go through any of the 5 different ministry areas, and you cannot help but going through the other 4 as well. You cannot help but attending the next event the next day. You don't even not want to. You want to attend the event the next day. And then furthermore, you'll have about 7 people texting you to get your butt over here.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
As well.
Especially if you're in the morning.
Accountability is great
So
here.
many group
But,
texts.
So many group texts.
The Holy Spirit is infectious here. That's the only way I know how to describe it.
It's good.
And it's almost like you're coming up here. Like if for a normal idea of what church is, you go on your Sundays, and then you go on your Wednesdays. It's not that Wesley. I don't call going up to Wesley as being one event. I see it as like fluid. When I come back on campus, I'm at Wesley because I'm usually here for at least 5 minutes every day, and it just there's something about you when you walk in these doors. You just feel better. Your day is better. You're in a different mindset because you're here.
It's not church. It really is home.
Yeah.
I would.
Oh, yeah.
I would be late to class all the time because I would always. When I walk to campus, I walk right past the building. So I'd come here when I'm on my way to class, then have like 18 stories to tell people, and then always be late. So I just stop by and start talking to people.
Or sometimes you'll be up here at 2 a.m, or you'll come up here. Like if I have stuff I have to do to get ready for service, there will be at least one person here watching TV or doing something. So there's always people
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
I'll tell John that.
cool.
Oh, sorry, John.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. Let's give these guys a hand real quick. Cool. So a couple quick things before we let y'all go. Wade, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, part of the reason that we're here is to talk a little bit about what alumni can do, and we have so many opportunities coming up. As I've been here for the last 3 years, I've really wanted to ask a simple question of what does it mean to be part of the Wesley alumni family, and we're excited that this year we're going to be starting some brand new things that hopefully the Wesley alumni are going to be a part of a community that is continually going to be connecting. In addition to having space here for like tailgate food and all that kind of stuff for game days, which we've already kind of done in the past, we would love to see you drop by if you ever come to an Alabama game. We have a number of things that we're wanting to offer. So some of that is going to be an online community. We've already kind of begun that with the Facebook page. This is also a place for you to check in if you want to hear what our students are learning about. All of our sermons are both on YouTube and on iTunes, and are they on Google Play? I don't know. You can download them online, and we're going to have that promoted. Dan does a lot of our audio and visual stuff for services. In addition to that, though, we also we love the reunion every other year, but we're wanting to take what I'm kind of coining in my mind, Wesley excursions. And so starting next year, we're actually, and you're the first ones to really hear about this, we are planning a Wesley trip to the Holy Land, and we would love for alumni to be a part of that. So it's something for Wesley alumni as well as current Wesley students. This is a great way to get to know people, but it's also an incredible opportunity to go and walk the path that Jesus walked with people that helped to develop your faith. And so I hope that you'll really get excited about that and promote that and find a way to join us. You'll be getting more information on that in the future, and John will be sending that sort of thing out. But we want Wesley to no longer be just a part of your past. We want it to be a part of your present so that you are continually blessed by what God continues to do here at the University of Alabama.
Cool. So a couple quick housekeeping things before we let y'all go, just to give you a little bit of an overview of what the schedule is going to look like for the rest of the day. At 2, Wade mentioned earlier, the Brahm is here and is going to be leading a tour around campus. I can tell you I graduated in 2014, and the campus has changed since then. So if you'd like to go and kind of see what's happening around campus, check in with Brahm here in just a couple minutes after we finish up here. Then at 5 o'clock tonight, pretty much right at 5, we're going to be having We're going to be having common meal, followed by a worship service. We've got a couple of our students that are here and are going to be leading that service. So would really love to see y'all back here. And then after that, we've got the Ham Reunion Show with music from Ben Williams and Winston Bacchus. That's going to be at Joe and Memory Gosa's home, and that'll be right after worship tonight. So full evening. We will have a check-in for childcare open at 4:30. We are going to ask you to go on and pick your kids up before you leave this afternoon. Not that we don't love spending the afternoon with them, but I've had our childcare workers back there captive since about 8:30 this morning. So I know that they would appreciate having a break. So we'll let them go and tour campus or whatever with you. We also will be keeping the building open. So if you just want to hang out and visit, you are certainly welcome to do that. Also, if you haven't been to our Welcome Center, we'd love to have you up there. If you pre-ordered a t-shirt and haven't picked it up yet, those are available there. We've also got a very limited number of t-shirts as well as mugs that are available for purchase back there. You can also update your contact information, make sure that we're keeping our database current, and sign up for emails. All of that can happen back at the Welcome Center. I'll be back there in just a couple minutes if you want to stop by, and we'll also have that open this afternoon. If you've got any questions about any of that, we'll be around. But otherwise, thank you all for being here, and we'll see you again at 5 this evening for Common Meal.